Welcome back to the Christian Capitalist Podcast, everybody. I'm Rich Sanders. Thank you so much for joining us today as we get a chance to talk to my friend, Andrew Farmer, broker associate with Next Home Emerald Coast here in Northwest Florida. As you know, the Christian Capitalist Podcast is all about the twin themes of hard work and generous giving to the poor and needy in the name of Jesus. You can always follow us on social media. And if you like this episode, like, share, tag, follow, whatever you got to do to get the word out. And you can learn more about our movement at christiancapitalist.life. Andrew, good morning.
Hey.
So full disclosure, Andrew and I have been visiting here for about an hour before we finally turned on the camera and the audio. So I'm so glad to bring everybody else into our conversation. How are you doing today?
Good. Everything's going smoothly.
The highlight of the week was a golf round with our son. It sounds like
yes.
Over at Sandestin. I'm glad.
Sometimes you need to have a midweek golf tee time, Tuesday afternoon, just to clear your head and get over some of the stuff. And when you're out there, even as bad as I am, the other problems don't exist,
That's well said.
Yeah.
I don't get a chance to play golf very much because of my knee and back and schedule. But when I do, I often feel like I don't even need to touch the clubs. You're just out there driving around, looking at nature, having fun.
Yeah, no score was kept. So
Good.
that should tell you a little bit about the day.
Good. All right. Well, so tell us a little bit about yourself. I mentioned Next Home Emerald Coast. For those who are not from the Emerald Coast, because we have listeners and viewers from all over the nation, what is that?
So it is a real estate firm, and I'm a broker associate there. And we focus up and down the Emerald Coast, 30A, Panama City Beach, Destin, even have some land deals in Defuniak. We're all over, and it's fun. We stay busy.
Yeah.
It's a smaller brokerage, so the handful of us, 5 or 6 of us, stay busy. We're on the ground. We're very hands-on with our clients. Kind of see them through everything, inspection, closing, and even after the closing.
I love that.
And it's good to just be a part of the whole transaction.
Andrew, it sounds like that's a very, what's the right way to say it? Diverse portfolio from a big, kind of multi-million-dollar house out on the Gulf of America, as we call it around here, to a land deal up in North Walton County, where y'all, for those of you who are not familiar with our community, Walton County is one of the biggest counties in the state of Florida, and it goes from the Gulf of Mexico / Gulf of America all the way up basically to the border of Alabama. And so you've got cows and land and just, a whole different ballgame than $1 million house overlooking the Gulf.
Yes.
How do you treat that kind of diverse portfolio?
So you've got to, a lot of, there's a famous saying, you got to marry your client. So when I have someone that's looking for farmland in Defuniak, I'm gonna learn about the agricultural zoning laws and the Walton County planning use and all those things. Yeah. I'm more familiar with the beach houses on the Gulf, but I can switch. Yeah. And so a client that lives in Atlanta or Dallas and it's looking for a couple $1 million house on 30A is very different than the person looking for land in Defuniak. And so you need to be yourself, but you just have to. They're gonna want completely different things. They're going to be into completely different things, and you've got to be on their level, and you've got to understand what they want, and you got to be able to adapt. Sometimes you got to have that one phone call, and you got to call the other person back and switch gears completely. Yeah. And that's one of the best parts about real estate. You've got to be yourself, adapt to the client, and just handle anything that comes your way.
So you got a big smile on your face when we're talking about handling anything that comes your way. Give us an example of some of the more interesting things you've had to handle.
Oh man. I've had a lot. It's any good real estate agent will tell you you can be in this game for 10, 20, 30 years and it never ceases to amaze me. All the questions and all the hiccups. My goodness. I've had some clients that were kind of tricked me into thinking that they were going to buy a house, and come to find out they were just wanting to meet me. They thought a first date would be touring a couple of homes would be a good idea to meet me without telling me.
Wow.
So I thought I was gonna, close a house and get a commission, and that client had another plan. So and I've told that story quite a bit. And I did not get the sale, and we did not go on a date. So
wow.
yeah, so
double whiff.
Yeah, lose for both sides in that one. But that's one of the craziest ones I had,
That's crazy.
I did put a lot of work into it and kind of get comparables and spend a lot of time. But
so having said that, you do spend a lot of time on getting to know whether you're in the buyer side or the seller side. You do spend a lot of time on preparation. I know this just as your friend. For somebody who is listening to this and saying, I've never bought a house before. How do I even get started? What's that look like? If somebody hears this and says, man, this guy's cool. I want to get his help on buying a house. What's that look like from your perspective? Because you're getting ready to get married to somebody in your terms, a potential client who wants to buy a house that may not know even the first question to ask. What's that look like?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people think it's unachievable. And, you hear things, rates are so high, the prices in Walton County are so high, all this stuff. And it's kind of like, well, just, you've got to buckle down and you got to do it. It's especially for out here where we live. Rent's $2,500, $3,000, $5,000 in some cases. And, I think the biggest thing would make sure that you have the down payment. That's going to be a big chunk of it. But, besides that, if you do it right and you have the right person on your side, you can do it for a little bit more than rent. The down payment is the big thing, like I said. And then you kind of, you agree to terms, you get started, and we're going to walk you through it the whole way. You got to inspect the house, make sure it looks good, make sure it's structurally sound and things like that. You don't want someone buying something and then it, blown over in the first hurricane. So walking through that first time homebuyer process is easier than people think. I think they're just listen to too many voices telling them it's unachievable at this point. And I get it. The rates are high, but at the same time, it's like, well, who cares? Just go for it. Right. Honestly, I hate to be that blunt, but it's at the same time, it's, hey, if I can do it and I have multiple times, then you can do it.
Well, that's a good point. And a house, unless it's a rare situation where it's on land and you have no neighbors, a house is always part of a neighborhood or a community. And in my experience, a first-time home buyer is not only looking at the house, but also has to be thinking about the other things. Especially this one person that I know here in our community was one of the first people to buy in her neighborhood of new construction. And she bought a little too high. So now all the houses coming in behind her are less expensive and newer. Yeah. That's tough. It feels like you're hanging out on the edge of a very thin piece of ice.
It is. And buying and being one of the first houses in a community is great. And the builder will probably offer certain incentives, but sometimes you don't know how that can go. It's always an old boss of mine who was incredible. You never want to be a pioneer. You always want to be an early settler. So, maybe the second or third house might be the better idea. Yeah. But the first house, and it's great, but it's in every situation changes, but it is a little tough with that. And there are a lot of builder incentives in new houses being sold for a lot less than a resale would be. And those are always hard for some of my sellers to compete with.
Well, you mentioned rates being high, and I know these things fluctuate with the Fed and its regular meetings. But how have things changed? I mean, 5 years ago rates were 2-3%. Then they kind of came up, and then they've kind of floated down. Where do we sit today in terms of the ease of people being able to buy a house?
Right. So there's I wouldn't say it's the easiest process. There's fees, lender fees, title fees, all that kind of stuff. And the rates are, they fluctuate. And a lot of people ask me, and I'm like, well, I wouldn't wait for anything. If you want this house, this is going to be better for you and your family, go for it. And I'm not giving any type of crazy financial advice, but it is possible. And, the feeling, and I see it so many times, not only in my, own multiple houses myself, that took me a while to get there, but these families on closing day or 2 months later, they're sending me pictures. Hey, look, we decided to, change up our son's room and look at this built-in bunk I built or whatever,
that's cool. Yeah.
And so I get these pictures all the time. And I'm like, they're so happy by, buying, maybe there's a first house or maybe it's just a bigger house. The family's growing. And I can almost guarantee it 4 or 5 months down the road, yes, rates are high. Yes, the mortgage payment is going to be a lot. You're going to forget about it. You're going to pay it. You're going to rise up to the occasion, and all within your means. I'm not saying go out there and buy a house that's crazy expensive, but there is other ways to do it.
I can tell just based on the way that you answered my question, how you're going to address this next issue. But it is important because so much of what we talk about in the Christian Capitalist is unique to America and the land of opportunity, which I still believe is the case. Here, celebrating our 250th anniversary in just a couple of weeks. During my lifetime, I'm 55. During my lifetime, it was common to talk about the dream of homeownership. And I think based on the happiness you just talked about with your clients who are buying their house or their next house, that you see that too. But what do you think about that? Is owning a home still a dream for folks?
Yeah, it is. I think, once again, I'll reference this. I think there's a lot of outside noise, news, social media, everything. And I think it's just so much easier to be negative on America and on other rates, this and this person wants some and this guy wants some. And I'm not arguing with any of that. I'm just saying it's the American dream is still alive and well. And buying a first home I've never had any bigger joy besides my son being born. I think those are the two on the list. I did make in the church basketball league in 5th grade, I made a 3-pointer at the buzzard. Those 3 are my top 3 life memories, and I'll never forget those. So they didn't retire my jersey, but it was a good day. And so, there's so much joy in it, and it's yours, and it's like I said, the numbers don't matter. I mean, they do. I don't want to say that, but what's best for your family matters more. And like, again, I'm not sitting here, hey, buy this huge house, buy this. Make strategic moves. Buy the smaller house now. Get out of where you're renting. Maybe this isn't the best house, with the plan of, hey, I'm going to sell this later, or I'm going to rent it out later, or I'm going to do something, another scenario of investment. And it's going to, then you take that down payment if you sell it, and then you can get the bigger house. You've got to look strategically towards the future,
Right. Outside of the financial aspects, what are some of the things, or maybe even the number one thing you hear from home buyers, especially first-time home buyers, about their experience there? Man, I wish I'd known this. Doesn't have to be good or bad. I'm curious because I want the folks who are listening to this to be, kind of aware of the issues that you are commonly faced by your clients once they buy a home.
Right, and so this would go back to, I have multiple clients, all variations, all 30A investment that never even want to see the property, large sums of money. Hey, that's fine. That works. The numbers are good. No emotion involved at all. And those people are great. They're awesome. And then there's other people that are much lower price points that will ask you every question. Doorknob's loose. They want to back out of the whole deal. And, you just have to, you're a manager of emotions as a real estate agent and broker. And so you've got to, play that, and you've got to just be like, hey, it's okay. I realize, that you have an issue with this. Let's let an inspector look at it. And meanwhile, once they leave the house, I tighten the doorknob, and so I'm carrying screwdrivers and tools and everything in my car because these things come up.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing, and especially getting for these first time home buyers, credit score is something a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I'm glad we're talking about the last couple of months, I've had a lot of younger first time home buyers, and man, if I would have known that this was going to affect it, this wasn't going to affect it, I would have tried a little harder, and the credit score would have went up and I would have gotten a better rate. Nobody taught me that. I didn't learn that in college, and things like that. So the credit score is a big part of it. And there's things you can do to get that up and different things like that. But that is a big indicator of how the rates, are going to look.
So would you say then, it's such a great point, man. Would you say that for somebody who's interested in buying their own home, that is just as important to figure out their own buying power through the credit score as it is to start looking for houses in neighborhoods?
Yes. Yeah. And people love looking. And so I've bought 2 houses, and I looked at each of those houses one time, And so personally, I have
awesome.
never looked at another house. Now, my clients aren't like that. That would be easy. But a lot of people love looking, and it is important to look, and I'll never tell somebody, hey, get this figured out first. And I know people disagree with that, but I'll just, hey, let's look at the house. It's fun. Let's hang out. We're hanging out. Yeah. This is fun for me to look at houses. And
as a guy who likes to look at houses, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Just it's a Sunday afternoon thing.
It is.
Right?
It is. And time willing, time permitting, it's awesome to do that, to look at people's houses, and I love showing when it's a family and their young kids are around. If I could have them with me, because the kids will get in the room and they either run to which room they want. This is my room. I want to put this here, that here. The house is sold, when the kid runs in there and kids don't have any filter and they'll just run in there like, this is way better than our house now, and things like that. And it's just really funny. It's great to just be a part of that family's journey, wherever they're going.
Yeah, that's awesome. You and I met 3 years ago now at the gym. Go ahead. Everybody get the flex. You and I met at the gym with a classic Rich Sanders move of eavesdropping and then introducing myself to a random stranger.
Yes.
Do you recall that?
I do, absolutely.
What were you and your friend talking about?
So my friend and I were talking about tithing and how important that is, and how it's just, in my life, it's a non-negotiable. And so 7 or 8 years I've been doing real estate, and I have tithed on every house, and it's just the way that my church has it set up. It's through an app, so that's cool. It's easy, There's no excuses with that. Now I also will donate and help other smaller foundations out as well. But so every house and everyone's different. But in that app, there's a memo line, and I just put the address of the house. That's all I put. And
awesome.
And then I tithe as soon as I get it.
So it's discipline that you do it, but easy because of the app. I love that.
It's easy. And I've done that since, probably not as consistent as I should have before real estate, but some months I'll get paid, on a couple houses, and for some 3 or 4 months I won't sell any house. So mine fluctuates, but I do base it on that. It's not a monthly thing for me, and it's on each house. And I've had some big ones. I've had some big sales, and you just can't think about it. It's if you start with the smaller houses, if you tithe on a little, God will give you a lot, and you got to make sure.
Amen.
It's so easy to try to negotiate with God in your head, and He always wins, but you don't think He wins, and you just are like, well, this house doesn't really count because insert reason here, and it's just, well, this one was, He doesn't want me to tithe that much, and it's solid. Whatever house it is, it's a certain number, and that's what I go off of every single time I get paid.
Andrew, I love to hear that, because like you and I were talking about then and earlier this morning, the motto of the Christian capitalist movement is the more we make, the more we give. And in a commission-based compensation structure like you have, like other broker associates, brokers, realtors, anybody in sales, right? You're not getting a paycheck in the same amount every 2 weeks. That's not how it works.
No.
If you're in that if y'all are listening to this or viewing this on YouTube and you're in that kind of compensation system, if you're in that kind of job or career field, it's great. Yeah. I take 10% of every check, easy.
Yeah.
But in your case, the more we make, the more we give can really dramatically vary depending on the type of deal, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You've got to stay disciplined in it. And like I said, at this point, I go to it right when the money hits my bank account, when the sale closes, I'm going to the app, because if if maybe I get closed on a Friday, which by the way, I never close on a Friday, but that's okay. The weekend, there's too many question marks with the banks transferring a lot or a little money. I just don't do it. And so,
It's good to know.
I don't know if that's
a closing hack. I love that.
I don't know if that's sound wisdom. I'm very process oriented, and so it won't be a Friday with me. Yeah. And I don't know, it's just.
Well, because you raised a great point. If the wire doesn't hit by 5 o'clock on Friday, it's not going to come until Monday, right?
Right.
And then you're on pins and needles, and your client is too.
And they'll move into the house because closing will technically happen, but for it to be funded, it's just, I don't want any question marks for my clients. And Saturday and Sundays are a big question mark. And so it's not going to be on a Friday. So
right on.
So I celebrate on Thursday nights. So, but when that does come, I get on the app and I, tithe to my church. And like I said, if you wait 2 or 3 days, it is so easy. That's what I was saying. If you wait for the weekend and, oh yeah, I'll tithe on Monday or I actually have another closing coming up. I'll just tithe on both of them. Then it's so easy to just, like I said, try to negotiate with God. And
why do you like to tithe?
So tithing is a way, it's such a great avenue for a bigger church, bigger entity than I am. I'm not saying a big church needed to help other people. So my money is going to go a lot farther with the community of the church that I'm involved in, because when people tithe there, they know how to help people. If you gave me $5,000 today, of course I would help so many people, but it would go a lot further giving it to my church as God tells us to. And then what they do from there, it's not mine.
I love that, man.
And so they've helped. Not only has my church helped me so many times when I really, really needed help. That's why it's so awesome to know that I've been helped on that 10, 15 years ago when I couldn't tithe. And, having them help me, knowing that I'm tithing, I don't know the person that's going to. I don't know who they're helping on a weekly basis. I see it. I can see it, how we are and how we operate as a church. But it's great to know, I have no qualms or issues tithing and giving it to my church.
And I love the fact that you are in a position now to appreciate where you used to be, right? And I think that's true with any person in any walk of life, that there's going to be situations where you need help and situations where you can provide help, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the course of life.
Yes.
But tithing isn't the only way to give. You're also very active, twice a month active in your church. Tell us about that.
So I serve on the production team at Destiny Worship Center in Miramar Beach. And what that is, I will either be a mobile camera, which I love because I'm in the stands dodging people and being polite while people worship, and I get to film the worship band, and then sometime I'll be pastor's camera, and you got to follow him as he's talking and as he's moving, and so we have 3 services on Sunday, so I'll film all 3 of those services, and there's quite a bit of us, and there's a lot, and we all combine together and just create what we call an excellent experience. That's what we want to create. We want to create a distraction-free environment for people to worship, and that's nice equipment, nice cameras. We film all over, stream all over, so you can watch those services. And I have a headset on, and there's a lighting guy. There's a switcher because we have multiple cameras. They're switching from the guitarist to the lead,
like a director of a TV show.
And we have. It's, probably 15 or 20 of us, maybe more, besides the worship team on any given Sunday. And so we'll have a headset in. People are constantly chattering, the people on our other production team. Camera 3, camera 4, hey, switch this angle. Hey, you need to brighten up. And he's talking to all of us. We're on the same headset. And I've been doing it, I think, 7 years now. Like you said, 2 weekends a month. It's one of my favorite things. And all of that noise going on, there's tons of people. It's a larger church. There's people everywhere. And, it never ceases to amaze me. My friends, even with the camera, will tap me on my shoulder like I can turn around and talk to them as I'm filming. But it's just fun, And so that's great. If you ever see me on a Sunday, I don't lose focus. I'm on that camera, and part of the reason why is that's my worship time. So
I was just going to ask you, with literally a voice in your ear that's not the Lord.
Yes.
How do you worship in that environment?
So I'm a very animated person, and I'm the guy that when I wake up, I'm turning music on first thing in the morning. TV might even be on at the same time. Not a huge TV, but sports in the background.
Right.
And so I'm always just like to go 100 miles an hour. I have noise on constantly. Maybe some people would say I'm a loud person. Maybe I talk a lot. It did take us an hour to even start recording this. Right? So, and I think God put me in that position because there is, I think, maybe 3 or 4 switchers, talking, and they're talking to everybody, and there's lights and there's people, and it's like nobody is talking to me at all. It's completely silent, and it's just me and God. And that's my time to worship God. Yes, there's worship music on. The band is incredible. But it's just, and I do what they say, but it's almost like muscle memory at this point because I'm moving around with that camera and it's just me and God. And I mean, I can't hear anything else but God's voice, but still doing the actions, if that makes sense.
I want to repeat this out so that everybody can appreciate what you just said. Even with a headset on, even when you're mobile and there's voice in your ear and you're moving around and there's a band playing and there's 100 people in the room, it's just you and God.
100%.
Laser focused.
Yeah.
I love that.
And it's
because wouldn't we all be so blessed to be able to focus on God regardless of all the outside distractions?
Right. And it's just, I think God was like, I don't sit down. I usually stand. I don't stay in my house a lot. I'm going everywhere with my job or with my son or with my dog. We go everywhere, all the time. I'm going to events. And so I think God was like, hey, I need to put him in the loudest, most flashy button avenue ever, chaotic headsets, battery packs, wires, everything. And he's going to be in his element. And so that's exactly, what it is. I don't think I could do anything else. And when I reached out to
silent retreat this weekend,
maybe I need to. I'll look into it. But for now, it's just going to be noise constantly. But when and I'd been going to Destiny for a while. When I emailed them and I tried serving at kids' church for a while. That was not my style. I've never felt uncooler. It was middle school and high school. And
man, that's brutal.
I know. And I think that I'm pretty cool, but I guess they didn't. You might
as well have had big red shoes on and a red nose, right?
Yeah. And speaking of the shoes, they weren't red, but no joke, when I started serving, I probably did it for like 6 months. I tried, I really did. But I was like, man, these kids are cool. And this is middle school and high schoolers. I bought a brand new pair of shoes that I thought were cool that I would never wear. I think they were Jordans or something.
Okay.
And it was just, I probably was wearing them with like khaki pants, what I'm wearing now. And it was just, it didn't,
tried too hard, bro.
Yeah, I tried too hard. So that didn't work out, but I love serving and I love giving money and tithing. And to me, they're both important. And sometimes people don't have money, so they're going to serve. And sometimes people have a ton of money and they don't have time to serve. I think I'm right in the middle with both. I'm able to give, and I'm able to give some money, and I'm able to give my time. And
I love that.
And it's just it doesn't work out for everybody, but for me, it's a good mix of doing a little bit of both.
Speaking of middle schoolers and high schoolers, your son Hudson, I think, is now rising sophomore.
Yes.
Rising sophomore.
Yes.
How do you talk to Hudson about these themes of hard work and generous giving?
So he's great, and I don't think he fully understands everything.
But what's he, 15?
He's 15.
And he has a job.
He does. So
not a lot of 15-year-olds are running around punching the clock, man.
That's true. He's been doing that for about a year. Wow. And he finally sent me a screenshot. He was at work and it's direct deposit. He was like, "Hey Dad, I finally saved up $1,000." And it was like $1,000 and $1,003, and he was right over the line. And
I love it.
I was so proud of him. Yeah. So we recently bought a house in December on 30A. And with that, we remodeled the whole thing. And so as much as I had him there, I had him, ripping up some tile. More, I think he just thought it was fun. He was busting doors down. I mean, we remodeled the whole thing. So taking a hammer to a drywall is just very satisfying.
Yes.
And so
their entire business is built around that now, right?
Yeah,
you go beat stuff up in a room.
Yeah,
it's fun.
It's crazy. So I showed him that, and I make sure he knows, hey man, he saw us when we were renting a house. For 4 years we lived in a 405 square foot house, and when he was, just maybe 4 to 8, maybe. I can't remember when we bought our first house, and now that's a rental, and we've moved on to this other house. But I said, hey man, we were in here, and it was comfortable and it was clean. I wouldn't say comfortable, but it was clean and
cozy. I think is
cozy. Yeah.
Right?
If I was selling it, I would sell it for a lot of money today if possible. But it was. I just said, hey man, we've come. I moved here for him. didn't have any friends or family here. And it's like, hey, we've worked hard. But at the same time, we've given through every step. And even when we couldn't give, people gave to us. I mean, my church has even given me a car. My car blew up. And so I have since then returned that favor twice. I've given away 2 cars. And so they're both different scenarios, right?
Yeah,
but it was a goal of
God
mine
bless you.
when that person, in coordination with the church, when Destiny decided to do that, it was just incredible. And the best part was the guy who did it was, I want to remain anonymous. I don't want Andrew knowing who I am. And I thought, first off, I was blown away that someone wanted to give me a car. And then he didn't want to post about it. He didn't want to tell anybody about it. Yeah. He wanted to give because he makes a lot of money and he serves God first, and that's
and that's one of our key verses, right?
Right.
Jesus tells everybody, hey, listen, God knows. You give with your left hand and the right hand doesn't know, but God knows.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Andrew, you have mentioned that you spent some time on social media, recording videos and doing that kind of thing. Tell us a little bit about that and how folks can go find that.
Yeah. So but I'm on Instagram. It's very simple, Andrew Farmer 30A. And so I don't have a ton of followers, but I like to be myself. And man, every 1 out of 3 people is probably a realtor in this area. And it's almost like the conversations I've had and I'm a realtor too, And so it's great. It's probably the most popular profession here. And because we live in a beautiful place and because there's beautiful houses and
so many people buy here, but don't live here full time.
Right. So it's just, you got to do it. And, so they've, so many.
We were talking about your social media and Instagram.
Yeah, social media.
Andrew Farmer, 30A.
Yes. So there's so many videographers, awesome, very skillful people, and so many real estate agents, and they do a ton of videos, and they do these beautiful houses, and they're so incredible, right? Well, it's not for me. So, I watch them, and they're great to see these skills, and I use the same videographer. I've been using him for years, and he's incredible. But what I started this year is each month I do a video. They're like a minute, maybe a minute and 5 seconds. And I'm in a house, but the focus isn't the house. There's just each month has a theme. And so we're on, we did June. I did one for Father's Day. My favorite was May for my mother. I did Mother's Day. And so, yes, I'm in a house only because the videographer told me I had to instead of in a studio. Right, and so it is, yes, I would like to sell real estate from them. I'm not lying, but I want someone to see, hey, this is a real person, and hey, he's in a house, but he's talking about something. I write the scripts, and we sometimes we adjust them a little bit for the camera shots and things like that.
That's great,
but they're fun, and they're refreshing, and I love doing them, and I look forward to every month. And I wrote all 12 of them. 7 months ago, 8 months ago when I got the idea. And it's funny, right before I film, I'll revisit them, and none of them have changed the same. Yeah, I tweak them, the themes have changed, but it's funny because it's a breathing, it's a Word document, but it's a breathing Word document. Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, you know what? July, this is going on in my life. I'm actually going to change this theme, or, August. Good. And so it's fun to be like, hey, what's going on with me? And it's interesting to kind of to go through that. And I had a house lined up. Obviously the nicer the house helps. And I had a house lined up, and it didn't end up working out for the homeowner. They were busy or, whatever, couldn't do it. No fault to anybody. So I did it at my own house. And I just remember thinking, like, I was so proud to be able to have a house that looks good on video.
Yeah, exactly,
and I go back to that 400 square foot house, and I'm like, man, we've taken very, very small steps. Yeah. My son and I over the last couple of years, more than a couple of years, where owning a house was insane. Nowhere I'd ever even thought about that. Yeah. Or owning 2 houses and investing in one of them. It's just what God can do if you're obedient. And it's like, I've tithed $10 before, because that's what I had.
What you had.
I made a $100 tip working at a restaurant or a golf course. I can't remember at this point, but I remember doing that. And I remember on the app, being like, oh man, they're going to laugh at me, you know,
Dude.
but they didn't, you know, and
that's, I'm so glad to hear you say that though, man, because that's one of our core concepts, right? When Jesus is in the synagogue with Peter and Andrew, James and John, and there's this parade of rich people up to the altar to give to the treasury of the synagogue. And then this widow comes in with only 2 coins, and together they're not even worth a penny.
Yeah.
But Jesus says that is more than anybody else because that's all she had.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't matter the size of the gift.
Right.
Right. But man, I'm just so glad to hear that story because it sounds like you got, humble beginnings, but humble present.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Still giving glory to God.
Yeah.
I love that. Andrew, the signature question on our podcast, I forgot to tell you in advance. So if you want to think about it for a minute.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you to be a Christian capitalist?
I think what it means to me to be a Christian capitalist, I think a lot of people and I don't know the verse off the top of my head, they get it wrong where Jesus says, take up your possessions and follow me. Take up your cross and follow me.
And give away all your possessions.
Give away all your possessions.
Right.
People think, well, to be a Christian, you need to be poor. And you need to go minister in a different foreign country and leave your family behind or take your family and you need to go live in a tent and just minister to those people. People do that. And I'm not knocking on that. That's incredible. That's a great, awesome thing to do. But I think being a Christian capitalist is the more you make, the more you can give. God wants us to be diligent workers. He wants us to work hard. He wants to bless us. Yeah. We just have to have the right focus. You can't focus on wealth and God. You focus on God, the wealth will come, even when you think it won't. You've got to give a little and God will bless you with a lot.
Amen. Oh, what a great, that's a mic drop, man. Andrew, thanks so much for joining us today. And y'all, thank you for joining us today on the Christian Capitalist Podcast. If you like this episode, like it, share it, follow us on all the socials. And of course, you can always learn more about our movement at thechristiancapitalist.life. I'm Rich Sanders with the Christian Capitalist Podcast, where the more we make, the more we give.